Hello, everyone. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Emily.
And we're the hosts of the I Don't Think So podcast. Each episode, we discuss a different story, theory, or mystery and decide if we think it is believable or if we really don't think so.
Here at the I Don't Think So podcast, we are affiliated with Florida Sports, and we present our theories, mysteries, and stories on your favorite place to listen to podcasts every Wednesday. If you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a like and share and follow us on all of our social medias at I Don't Think So _EH. Or check out our YouTube at IDTS Conspiracies.
Ooh.
Woo! I was kind of disassociating there for a little bit, and then all of a sudden I was like, it's my turn to talk.
So, but it's all muscle memory at this point.
I was like, at least I know the first line real well.
I love that. Well, we're wrapping up March.
That's crazy. I know I say that every month.
But March went fast.
March is like here and gone.
I don't know what happened, but I'm not upset about it.
No. I'm ready for spring.
Oh, same.
Summer.
The fact that they're like, oh, I don't know if I can handle any more snow, and they're talking about snow, and it makes me sad.
I put my winter jacket away. I won't break it back out. I've washed it. It's gone.
I wasn't going to, but then for school, we have to like walk kids to swimming, and I'm like, I'm not walking down there without a coat.
Spring jacket.
And even my coat on, I'm like, this is awful.
It's cold. I know. I was like dog sitting, and I let him out at like 7 this morning. I was like, hurry up. It's cold.
Oh,
and then, of course,
awful.
it was nicer later today, and he's like, as soon as he pooped, he was like, we're going back. And I was like, it's nicer now than it was this morning when you took your sweet old time.
I was just waking up. Well, wrapping up March means we're wrapping up Folklores, and I thought I would do one that kind of came to be known as like popular folklore now, but was actually just kind of made up.
Oh!
And it's gained a large following. So I'm sure you've heard of it. Today we're going to be talking about Slender Man.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Slender Man. I don't know a ton about it, but like
okay, so I know there's this I figured if we ever wanted to do some sort of like true crime month again, we could go into like kind of the local Wisconsin like attempted murder and things like that in association with Slender Man. But we're not going to be talking about that much today because there's lots of other things to we're talking about more of the folklore side of it today.
Okay.
But it could inspire a future episode of the I Don't Think So podcast. So I thought that would be kind of interesting.
There you go.
And I figured you probably heard about it because of the mental health side of it.
I have. Obviously talking specifically more about the young ladies who were involved in that. I know what facilities and stuff they were at and like
right.
The legal process more behind that. But
exactly. So I figured you'd have more of a knowing based on that, but I didn't know if you knew any of the like origins or folklore about Slender Man. Okay, so I remember when Slender Man first came out, I remember it like being online and like reading some of the stories and like I don't want to say fan fictions, but kind of like Wattpad stories based off of Slender Man and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like terrified, like genuinely thinking that this is like a real thing.
Yeah.
And some people do believe it's real. And I actually, as I was doing some research, found some like real life connections to the folklore Slender Man. So let me go into the history of it and then we'll kind of move into that. So the origin of this really stems from this like online competition that happened in June of 2009. The creator of Slender Man was an artist named Eric Knudsen, but he went under the pseudonym Victor Surge online, and he ended up posting this online. And what it was this online competition to kind of do different like photoshopped pictures. And he ended up posting a couple different pictures that we'll post on our social so you can see. And pretty much this web forum called Something Awful held a contest challenging users to edit just like everyday photos to appear paranormal.
Okay.
So he submitted 2 black and white photos of children with this newly created Slender Man character kind of lurking in the background. So one, I can show you here and you can see online, was the park with him standing underneath the trees, which he named Unease and Terror. And Knudsen later told the website that like his intent for the character was, and this is a quote, something whose motivations can barely be comprehended, and unease and terror in a general population. And then this is the second photo that he created of the Slender Man like standing in the woods.
I always remember him in a suit.
Yes. And so he depicted the character as an abnormally tall, thin man with a featureless face. He said he was inspired by Stephen King's The Mist, among like other different fictitious stories. But this mythology kind of grew to other people making different photos along with this, where he starts to kind of grow further arms. He spreads out. He's wearing a suit. He's always kind of surrounded by this like black aura. And people kind of took Knudsen's inspiration and kind of ran with it themselves. So just days after Knudsen created Slender Man, other users started to like layer their own attributes to this character. So it wasn't just Knudsen like adding to this. Some suggested that Slender Man had tentacles sprouting from his back, and that he can cause amnesia, and that he can be seen hiding in the woodlands or stalking children.
Fun.
Right. Unlike other like fictional characters, Slender Man isn't seen as having just like a single creator, even though Eric Knudsen was like the first one to like post about it.
Yeah.
People kind of attribute this whole like online like
flurry.
Like I was going to say what's the word? Like when you get really famous online. Viral. This whole like viral phenomena of like people kind of adding to it, and like I said, like creating their own fan fictions on Wattpad and things like that. So he doesn't have like an official canon or appearance or motives or abilities, and they kind of differ between storytellers. This is one interpretation. Like there's different interpretations of it. He's become a kind of a popular figure in pop culture, and a lot of people like will dress as him. They've made different characters on like Minecraft and stuff based on him. Different video games. There's one called Slender Man: The Arrival, which is like a Slender Man themed video game that came out in 2012, and it says that they had over 2 million times the downloads within its first 2 months of it.
Wow.
And pretty much this again then caused a bunch of people to begin to follow this, people kind of going crazy for it, obsessing over it, which led to these girls kind of falling victim to this like thing, along with their mental health crisis, and using it as kind of like a motive to commit crimes and things like that. After their crime, it then became a topic of a lot of different like media, movies, documentaries, things like that. In January of 2017, an HBO documentary came out called Beware of the Slender Man, which is based on their case. There's also different like attacks that have been associated with this. But there's not a lot of like further evidence as to like what it's caused.
Sure.
So
yeah, because I think that probably was, he was always depicted as being creepy and scary, but that was kind of the first like, I think he probably was really directly tied to like murder.
Yeah, and stalking and things like that.
Yeah.
So as researchers have kind of been studying specifically the case of the girls, they wanted to see like why this kind of absorbed people into it so quickly.
Right.
And people genuinely believing that some of these photos are real. Now, just from like personal opinion, I think when this is coming out in 2009, I think this was one of the first, like, at least photos that I have seen where it'd been photoshopped and I didn't realize it was photoshopped.
Yeah, it was the first time that like someone didn't completely butcher a Photoshop, where there was like, why is the person in the back warped? You know, it was like, oh.
Yes. And I think now we live in an age where it's a little bit easier for us to see something and like automatically realize that like this could be faked because the amount of things that are edited and photoshopped and things like that. But back in 2009, not that things weren't being photoshopped, but at that point, like if you were on that website seeing this photo, you obviously knew that this was for this competition. But then as it gets saved and reposted and people start adding their own like hysteria and things, fear to this, they don't realize that this is not real. And so they're seeing this faceless man or this faceless creature. They're not sure if it's actually a guy dressed up as it. They don't know if it's some creature that's coming out. And it's causing a lot of scare. And so several scholars have argued that despite this being a fictional work with like an identifiable or like origin point, this is kind of, Slender Man kind of represents like one of the first forms of like digital folklore that like our generation can contribute. As we trace the histories back to different folklores of things, we can find some sort of point of origin, and they think that this will be one of the first like digital folklores that will be tied to like our generation.
Wow.
They share that, like they argue that Slender Man exemplifies like similarities between traditional folklore and like an open source of the internet when people being able to add to it, stating that a lot of folklore that we hear about and things that we've covered, think of the leprechauns, think of the banshees, where there's not like a set story, but everyone has this picture in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
This was doing the same exact thing, but instead of being passed on from family member to family member or friend, it's different people being able to contribute to the story online. So they argue that it's not unlike like traditions of like monsters, vampires, werewolves, things like that. It's causing the same amount of hysteria. It's causing the same amount of crime. It's causing the same amount of fear that these other different mythological creatures have caused.
Wow.
Other people suggest that like it's gone beyond being online, of people having real life fears of this thing, even though they know it's not real. It's still inciting fear that even though in your brain, your logical brain will say like, oh, I know this isn't real, but you could be out hiking and see something similar to it, and it would cause the same amount of fear as you would see like a bear or something like that. That's like a true fear. They also argue that they could see this continuing to like transcend time and become more oral tradition, that people will continue to talk about Slender Man just like we are talking about it now in the future, that they don't necessarily need this like online platform to continue this folklore moving forward, making it like a true, like a mythological creature created in our generation.
That's really cool. I mean, not really. I mean,
if you think about like the power of creating something like that, like I think about art, like we think about, and art's not always pretty or good, but we think about some of the most famous works of art, plays, stories. It's not always good, but at the same time, it's crazy to think about how powerful it is.
Right.
You know, like it's cool to think about how powerful it is, even though it's obviously caused harm.
Right. And even thinking back to the stories we've talked about, like leprechauns, banshees, fairies, a lot of these stories we talk a lot about, like, oh, they came from Celtic, they're Gaelic, they are, you know, Romanian, they're blah, 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 blah. In this regard, it just almost feels like it became quicker to that end of the spectrum, because it was an open forum where people were like, you know, 3 days after it was first created, people were putting their own spins on it, adding to it, sharing the tradition, sharing the tales of what they believe Slender Man to be. So I feel like it just, in our day and age, it kind of was a good example of how things can be so quick and so instant and so rapid, where things back in the day used to take time. Think about sending a letter.
When I think about too, I think there are fewer and fewer moments of using these folklore stories to like create explanations for things. Nowadays, with the amount of research that we do, the access to the internet, the immediate response for information that we have, we'll always have instances where something like this like incites panic, that we don't realize that it's real or something. But especially within that age where it's like in 2009, like obviously we all had we had access to the internet. It was readily available for people, but there's still such this huge population of people that didn't have any sort of awareness of being able to find what's credible and what's not.
Right.
And we still have that issue today, but it's just, I feel like me growing up now, I have a lot more tools to be able to research. If I don't, and now I know, like, if I don't have many sources telling me that this thing is real, it's probably not real.
It's probably fake.
But you also think about the amount of the amount of times people say, like, well, I saw on TikTok or I saw on whatever this, so it must be real. And I do that all the freaking time. I'm like, did you see this story?
And then I pass it as fact every time.
I do too. And then it comes out like weeks later. I'm like, well, maybe it came out a little bit different than that. But it's like, you still do that. But I think it was so much easier to do that in the past because there was no fact checking. There was no Googling it. There was no whatever. So it must be the banshee that killed our whatever.
Killed my sheep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Killed Uncle Roger. And it's like, no.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's creepy. Slender Man. Ugh.
I remember seeing it in middle school and being terrified.
Oh.
And you think about, too, like, at that point, like, I had access to the internet. And, like, I didn't have any sort of, like, perception of what's real or fake. Like, it was like that joke at that time where it's like, I go to on Facebook every morning quoted by Abraham Lincoln, and you're like in 6th grade and you're like, oh, Abraham Lincoln said this, and you're like, no, idiot. Like, obviously Abraham Lincoln didn't post something on Facebook, but like, you're a kid that has no perception of like knowing what's real and what's not real.
Right.
You see something like this, you start to get obsessed with this. You start to find humor and like enjoyment out of these dark stories or the edginess of something, and it spirals you. And if it's not Slender Man, it can be something else.
Right. And to be frank, fear's not always rational.
No.
Right? You know, I remember back in the day getting those stupid chain messages.
Oh, like you're gonna be
like
or whatever.
You open it and it's like, ha! Gotcha.
You've been sucked in. Now you have to send it to 15 people.
15 of your closest friends. Because, and if you don't, like, Johnny's going to get you at 2 a.m. and kill you. And I'm like, realistically, right? No. Like, that's not happening. However, fear doesn't always make sense. And it's not always rational. So even though you know, there's no way. Do I forward it along?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would I think about it as an adult still? Maybe.
I still do. I remember one time, it was like an obscene amount of people I had to forward it to. And I was like, I
don't have that many contacts.
Don't have that many people to forward it to. And so I only forwarded it to like 10 or something, you know? And the night that it came around that like whatever was supposed to happen was going to happen, I was petrified in my bed, and then nothing happened, and I was like, I knew it all along. But fear isn't always rational. And so I think along with the Slender Man stuff, like, you can get sucked in so easily because the whole goal of it, right, is to elicit unease and fear. Yeah. And so it's quick to be like, I know Slender Man's not real. But am I scared?
Yeah, well, and it's like when we were, even the other week where we were talking about like the stories at camp where it's like, I know that there's no creature out there to kill me, but I'm also running back to my cabin because what if this random thing jumps out of the bushes and sucks my blood out?
It could happen, you know? It's like, so the Slender Man is kind of a nuts one. And it's also to think a lot of these, not all, but a lot of the folklores in design aren't like good,
right?
They're all like lessonary tales.
Be like Fear of the Woods. Don't be stalked. Don't go with random men. Like,
don't go with random strangers. Think of Leprechauns, where it's like greed is bad.
Yeah.
Trickery is bad. Fairies were all about demonic possession and go the Catholic Church.
It worked for me. So.
Or even like the banshee of like, keeping your family close and doing all those things, minding your business, staying in your lane.
They're good life lessons.
They're life lessons. And so it's interesting now to see like Slender Man come out of this, and it is not necessarily in the same regard of like a life lesson. Because now, what is your life lesson? Don't leave your kids alone and don't go into the woods?
It's just like inciting fear, you know? And what I think, to me, is what's craziest is like the amount of grip it has on our society when it was so well known that it's fake. Even today.
Oh, yeah.
People know it's fake and they still latch onto it.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah. Well, there's my theory for you.
What a good one.
Or a mythical creature, I guess.
Mythical thing. Folklore? There it is.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of cool that, like, actual researchers are attributing that to, like, that's our contribution to
It's our
society.
contribution to the world.
But, yeah.
It's like, good lord. Oh, Wattpad.
Yeah.
Me and the Wattpad stories of, like,
the
the Y/N.
A whole podcast series about just reading old fan fictions.
Oh, I will cringe for sure. I can't do it. But will I? I'd love to.
I love the TikToks of, like, them doing it, like, your name, and you have to pick, like, whatever color, and then you pick that, like, oh, you're with Niall. And now you pick this, oh, you're cheating with Harry.
I'm like, no. Oh,
Poor Harry got the, like, butt of the joke every time. Harry was trying to steal everyone's women.
He didn't have to steal me. I loved him.
Well, then you were trying to be with Harry, and he's going to cheat on you with some other girl. But you are going to change him.
He was going to become a settled man for me.
Oh, if only.
You know, what are you going to do? Live in the world of the onlines. But, well, that wraps up our first part of the story. So, Hannah, I told you this weekend. This was something we were going to do.
And I ignored you, hoping that it wouldn't happen. But here we are.
And you ignored me. And, no. I refuse. So we are going to pay a little bit of homage to Flurry Sports. And Hannah, for our second segment, is going to give us her March Madness picks. I will read them off to you.
I don't know any of the choices.
Hannah's like, I could have just come in and been like, who's winning?
I should have. Maybe I'll look up. We were joking today at our PD session. It was like, you get to pick, like, how do you make your March Madness bracket? And my vote was mascots and colors.
Okay.
So that's what I will look at. Show me their options. Ooh, it's printable. Thank you, NCAA.
It is printable.
I just want, like, the pictures, though.
Well, I don't know if they have them. But
dang.
When you're ready, I can start rattling them off to you.
Help. Maybe if I look at images. No.
They're going to be just the bracket. They're not going to be like, you're going to have to Google every individual school.
Well, I'll go by name then.
All right. Do you want what seed they are ranked? Or do you just want to go by straight fields?
Maybe.
Okay. In the East Division, first game is UConn, ranked number 1.
Oh, I've heard that. Yep. Okay.
Versus Stenson, who's ranked 16.
Okay, I'm picking UConn.
Okay. All right. Florida Atlantic, 8. Northwestern, 9.
I'm going with the 9 seed. I don't know what it was. Atlantic?
Northwestern was 9.
Northwestern.
Northwestern is in this area. Sort of. Vaguely.
We're kind of north, not west.
All right. San Diego, 5. UAB, 12. I don't know what that means.
I'll go with the 5 seed.
I'm just going to start writing the numbers down.
Okay.
Make my life easier. Auburn, 4. Yale, 13.
Yale.
You want to see Yale. Let those smart people do it. All right. BYU.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Or Duquesne.
You know why I've heard of BYU? My
Norman.
name is Madison, and I'm going to BYU. Go first. I
love that video.
I'm going to BYU.
Perfect. Love to see it.
I hope they win.
All right. Illinois or Morehead State. Illinois is ranked 3.
Oh, Morehead, like Minnesota Morehead?
Could be.
Go with them.
Okay.
I don't know. See, they're probably not good. But
Who
that's
needs
fine.
to know at this point? Washington State versus Drake.
I'm going to Washington State.
When you hear the hotline bling, it can only be one thing. Iowa State or South Dakota State?
Iowa State only has room for Caitlin Clark, so we're going with the other one.
Perfect. All right, so that means out of UConn versus Northwestern, who's winning?
Probably UConn.
All right. Who is winning between San Diego State and Yale?
Probably the first one, because I think it's a higher seed.
It's true. All right. 6 and 14. BYU or Morehead State?
BYU.
They are the much higher rank, so good for you.
I'm our champion.
Perfect. Washington State or South Dakota State?
Washington.
Nice. All right, UConn versus San Diego.
UConn.
Perfect. The short one. BYU or Washington?
BYU.
UConn or BYU?
I feel like I have to go BYU.
All right. We will come back to you, BYU. All right.
Well, that was only half of it?
That was a quarter of it.
Oh, no. I thought we were done.
I was like, I got it.
Like, this isn't that bad. Why didn't I do this before?
That was one quarter. All right. North Carolina versus Howard Wagner.
North Carolina.
Perfect. All right. Mississippi State or Michigan State?
We'll go Michigan.
Love to see it.
Oh, Mississippi.
Not a fan. St. Mary's or Grand Canyon?
St. Mary's, where are they from?
I think they're from
Chicago. Is that sister?
No, that's Loyola.
Oh.
Shit.
Wait,
I don't know where St. Mary's is anymore.
What are the two options again?
Grand Canyon or St. Mary's?
You can't go against God. St. Mary's.
They have God in their corner. What do you want from me? All right. Alabama or Charleston?
Charleston. Maybe it'll have people from Love is Blind going to the games.
How fun would that be?
That would be fun.
Clemson. I know they're bright orange.
Ooh.
Clemson or New Mexico?
We'll go Clemson.
I'm going to be upset if I'm wrong about that. But Baylor or Colgate?
I heard of Baylor before. Do Baylor. This is literally purely just coming down to like, what have I heard of before?
Perfect. Dayton or Nevada?
We'll go Dayton. Just in case we have a friend listening. Clemson is orange.
Look at me. Is it a paw print?
Yes.
Ah!
Who are you?
Sports Gertie. It's all right. Arizona or Long Beach State?
Long Beach. Is that like?
I'm guessing it's
Arizona.
Perfect. All right. Here comes the second round. North Carolina, Michigan State.
North Carolina.
St. Mary's or Clemson?
St. Mary's.
Nope, I can't read. Sorry. Who knew? St. Mary's or Charleston?
Oh,
sorry.
I want the Love is Blind cast to be there too, Charleston.
Clemson or Baylor?
Clemson.
Dayton or Arizona?
Dayton.
If Dayton doesn't listen to this episode.
Fuck off.
You're here first.
You're probably here, so we appreciate you.
Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. All right. North Carolina or Charleston? It's like 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Are they the same school?
Yeah, right?
There's
Charleston.
All right. Clemson or Dayton?
Clemson.
Oh, you got so far. All right. Charleston or Clemson?
Charleston.
All right. Charleston or BYU?
BYU.
Yeah. Okay. We are like 50% done.
Ooh, we're like cruising.
We're moving.
Yeah.
All right. What's this division? The South Division.
Okay.
Here we go. Houston or Longwood?
Houston.
Good answer. I don't know who Longwood is.
Same. That's what I was like.
They're the 16th seed. They're probably going to get knocked out.
Oh.
Nebraska or Texas A&M?
We'll do Texas A&M. Why not?
Texas age.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Wisconsin or James Madison?
Wisconsin. I have to choose Wisconsin.
You have to. That's not fair.
Wisconsin's considered South?
Apparently. I don't know why. Because there's a Midwest division as well.
What?
I know.
That doesn't make any sense.
Riddle me that. They're ranked number 5.
Oh.
So they're doing okay.
Okay, maybe I'll pick Wisconsin for this.
Yeah. Duke versus Vermont.
Duke.
Texas Tech versus North Carolina State. NC State. They have a Tech.
We'll do Texas Tech.
Texas.
This ain't Texas.
Woo!
You know, hold down.
Yeah.
Lay your cards way down.
Fuck
Texas. Woo!
Beyonce, sponsor us.
Please.
Oh
my god.
Anyways, Kentucky or Oakland?
Kentucky.
Florida or Boise State, Colorado?
Boise State.
Boise. Marquette versus Western Kentucky. Why are the Wisconsin schools in here?
I don't know, but Marquette.
There you go. Marquette. All right. Houston, Texas A&M. Who wins?
Oh.
We got a few Texas schools in here.
Houston.
Wisconsin or Duke?
Wisconsin. I have to do.
You have to. Texas Tech or Kentucky?
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
We're just going to make this a battle of Wisconsin and Texas.
Boise State or Marquette?
Marquette, see?
Oh, Houston or Wisconsin?
I have to go Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I know I'm probably wrong, but that's okay. I can't go against my own state.
Yeah. Texas Tech or Marquette?
Marquette.
Wisconsin
And then
versus
Wisconsin. Not the cake eater private school.
Marquette. Not those fuckers over at Marquette. All right. We're nearly there. Flipping the page.
Ooh. Are we doing this for you too?
No, God, no. This is so long. All right. Purdue versus Montana State Grambling.
We'll do Purdue.
Okay. My one contact is like not focusing.
Oh, I hate
and
that.
it's my dominant eye, so this is
It's
really,
like spinning.
this is going great. Utah State or TCU? That's a lot of thinking.
Sorry. TCU.
Like, we know where this is going. Gonzaga or McNeese?
Gonzaga sounds fun.
I always liked that name. Oh, and I spelled it wrong.
That'd be a fun middle name.
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
La, 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 la. People would be like, big sports fan. Kansas or Stanford? Stamford. Samford. Samford. I put a T in there.
If I can't pronounce your name, you're out. Kansas.
Might not be a pronunciation issue, might be a reading issue, but,
Me-
you know.
It's okay.
South Carolina or Oregon?
Oregon.
Why is Oregon in the Midwest? Anyways.
This is stupid.
Why? Creighton versus Archon. Nope. Akron.
Ohio?
Apparently.
Do that one.
All right. Akron. Here he goes. Texas. Yeehaw. Why is Texas in here too? Texas is everywhere.
It's just Texas?
Just Texas versus Virginia, Colorado State.
The
Just
whole
two-
state of Texas.
Texas.
Oh, do Texas.
Perfect. Also, I don't know how Virginia is slashed with Colorado State.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me.
Very different states on opposite sides of the country, but that's fine. Tennessee versus St. Peter's.
St. Peter's.
Good job. That would be my best too. St. Pete.
Woo!
All right. Purdue, TCU.
Purdue.
Gonzaga versus Kansas.
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga. Don't say that right. Oregon, Akron.
Oregon.
Thank you. I had to say that again. I'm gonna mess it up. Texas versus St. Peter's.
Don't do St. Peter's.
Fuck you, Texas. You got
And then
far.
do Purdue.
Purdue, Gonzaga.
Purdue.
Oregon, St. Peter.
I'm gonna do Oregon.
Okay.
And then do Purdue winning.
All right. So that will leave you with Purdue versus Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
All right. So your very final matchup.
Is Wisconsin and BYU?
Wisconsin. And
What
BYU.
a perfect game. Wisconsin can win.
There you go.
Woo!
Big winner, Wisconsin. So,
And if they don't win, they're still winners in my heart.
that's right. So book it, folks. If you're into betting, I think we nailed it. So
You know, I hope I at least bet some games correctly.
I think you said all of the 1 seeds were going to make it to the second game, which is usually
That's like a safe bet.
a good bet.
There you go. Not that I bet any of my own money, but if you want to bet your money, follow Zach's podcast.
Yeah.
He has information
He's
about
got
that.
good stuff. You know,
Send him a message on Twitter. I don't know how any of it works.
I think we did it. So
No, we didn't.
we nailed it.
Oh, I thought you meant betting money. And I'm
Oh.
like, I've never bet.
I have never bet money on
I'm like,
sports.
when did I give money to bet?
I've never bet money on
I want
sports, and I
my
will
money.
never do it.
I want my money back.
You're like, no one told me. There's money on the line. Ah, well, thanks everyone.
Woo.
you should also do a March bracket because why not? And maybe you do it based on mascot. Maybe you have more time.
I bet Flurry Sports has their own printable that we didn't find.
Oh, for sure.
So
Absolutely.
check out flurrysports.org, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's a .org.
Check out their Twitter. They for sure probably have it up on there. And we will see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.